Hey guys, it's David from Automotive Press. What do I have behind me? Well, this is a 2025 BMW M5. And for many of us, growing up as a kid, the M series of cars such as M3s and M5s were always the dream cars. Sure, we loved the Porsche 911s, but this was the cool car because it's a four-door sedan. It doesn't look like a sports car, but it performs like one. Now for 2025, the M5 has gone through some major transformation. This is now a plug-in hybrid, which might surprise you. And before you say, no, I don't want plug-in hybrid, just keep in mind that by adding the extra motor in here, the horsepower have increased to 717 horsepower and the torque up to 738. Crazy amount of torque, crazy amount of power, and it really shows when you drive it, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on. Built in Germany still, and it feels like a tank. It's solid, but it is also a very different kind of M5 compared to the past. And again, I'll talk about that when I drive the car. Now let's do my usual audit of the exterior and interior. As an engineer, I like to measure the gaps and alignment, as you already know. So let's quickly do that. And while the matte paint is beautiful, just keep in mind, by the way, it is hard to maintain because you can't wax matte paint. But let's see if the paint thickness gauge shows something interesting or different about the thickness of the paint. But first, the gap. And it's not bad, 3.8 millimeter, 3.8 here. Everything lines up well. And if I put my hands here, everything feels like it's aligned well. The gap here is actually better, 3.2 millimeter, a bit wider at 3.5. And again, everything lines up well here. Paint job, especially for a matte paint or semi-gloss paint, it looks fantastic. Like, it's really hard to get this paint correct because unlike what you might think of a matte paint, it does usually have a coating on the top to protect the paint, so it's not like a raw paint. So it is difficult to achieve this kind of a satin finish, which is almost matte but with some gloss. If I look around here, you know, all the body panels match in terms of paint. You got lots of carbon fiber parts, but this one has a carbon fiber package. Very glossy black wheels, looks fantastic. Let's measure the paint thickness gauge and see what it tells me. So I got the paint thickness gauge, and as you know, paint thickness should be between 100 to 150 microns. And because this is a matte paint or satin finish, there should be less top coat, and therefore paint should be a little bit thinner than other paint, which should be the case. And that is kind of true. 120 microns, so it's about the same thickness actually as the usual paint. But here is 103, so it is a bit thinner. A couple more measurement here, 117 and 108. So usually BMW paints are about 120 to 150 microns, so it is a tiny bit thinner just because you don't have a thick layer of clear coat on this paint. Do you guys like the matte paint? Let me know in the comments below. Let's take a look at the inside and see what the quality is. Okay, so now I'm inside the BMW M5, and this is where the biggest transformation is from my perspective. All new BMWs have this kind of very techie feel, like something from outer space or future. You got two panels connected together, very fancy lighting system at night, and then in this particular case, huge amount of carbon fiber looking right at you. Lots of glossy piano black, which I'm not too crazy about, but it does look very advanced, kind of futuristic looking, maybe a bit overkill from my perspective. It lost some of that old-fashioned BMW feel, to be honest, both exterior and interior. Now it kind of looks like a computer on the wheels, but this is the appeal these days for new consumers and buyers who want something fancy, who want something techy. So I suppose they know what they're doing because BMW continues to sell lots of cars. And of course, because this is an M5 with a carbon fiber package, you don't have a sunroof or a panoramic roof. It's all carbon fiber here. Beautiful Alcantara, lots of stitching, in fact double stitching on the steering, indicating the BMW M color of blues and reds. Blues and reds over here as well. So again, design is beautiful, but maybe a bit too much from my perspective. But the quality looks really good. There's no gap between the components and plastic. Things feel solid. Well, really solid actually. Nothing is loose. And I just measured the window as well, just earlier, and it's 5 millimeters. Some cars are like 4 millimeters for cheaper cars, but this one is obviously a bit thick and so designed to be a bit of acoustic. It's not a double pane glass, but it is a thicker glass than your usual cars. This one has the Bowers and the Wilkins
stereo system, which is an amazing stereo system. So gorgeous interior, everything looks solid, feels solid, well built. Now let's go for a drive and see how the thing really performs on the road. Alright, so I'm going to drive the car, but before I do that, let me just measure the quietness or decibels of this car. So what I do is I sit in the car, turn everything off, including the fan, and then measure that as a baseline. Then I start the engine and then measure again. So let's take a look what it is without anything turned on. Okay, stabilized at 35 decibels, which is pretty well average. Basically nothing is on. It is a plug-in hybrid as well, so obviously very quiet before I actually start the engine. Now in this particular car, if I start the engine, because it's a plug-in hybrid, you don't actually have the engine turning on because it will start off with the electric motor mode, which by the way gives you 40 kilometers of range. So therefore the quietness should be exactly the same as when the car was actually turned off. So let me take a look. So supposedly everything is on, I'm ready to drive, but because it's a plug-in hybrid, the engine hasn't started yet, and therefore the quietness or dBA is exactly the same as when everything was turned off, still 35. So I can kind of force the engine to start by maybe stepping on the gas a bit and putting in the drive. So I'll move a little bit. No, engine still turned off because it's plug-in hybrid. So I can't really force the engine to start right now, being a plug-in hybrid. So what I can say is it starts off quiet and stays quiet even when you start to move the car because the electric motor is doing the work right now. So let's go for a drive and let me tell you more about the driving feel of this car. Alright guys, I'm on the road. I'm not going to drive too fast because we're in a residential area. I have been driving this car over a variety of different roads, and of course having a 4.4 liter legendary BMW engine under the hood combined with electric motor makes this car immensely fast. 717 horsepower, 738 pound-foot of torque. I mean, can you get faster than this? Maybe if you buy a Porsche 911 Turbo. But this car performs in terms of acceleration anyways pretty close to something like a Porsche 911, which is really a benchmark I measure against. And yet you have a four-door, you have a real trunk, and you have all the practicality of a normal sedan, but the performance of a sports car like the Porsche 911. The only thing I will say is that even though it has an immense amount of power and torque, and thanks to plug-in hybrid system, much of this torque available and very early in the acceleration curve, I will also say that like all new modern BMWs, there's a bit of disengagement between the road and my hand. What do I mean by that? Well, the thing accelerates really amazing, it corners well, stays flat, and there's a really good general feel from the road. But BMWs are, generally speaking, kind of overboosted in terms of the electric steering, and therefore I don't feel a lot in the steering wheel. It feels light, it feels a little bit numb, and this is where a Porsche models, regardless of which Porsche you look into, like let's say Panamera, excels because those cars have a better feel. The steering feels a little bit heavier. I played around with many different modes in this car, sports, and also you can kind of do customized configuration, but I can't quite improve the steering feel. And this has been a bit of a kind of Achilles heel for all BMWs that I noticed the last 5 or 10 years or so. Ever since they switched from hydraulic steering to electric steering, they've chosen to make the steering light because probably that's what the customers want. So they're precise and very agile and accurate, no complaints there, but I just don't get a real sense of what the road is doing underneath my car. I wish that they made a steering a little bit heavier, a bit more engaging, less like a luxury car, more like a sports car. That's what I like to see. Although even if you drive the BMWs, some of the flagship sports coupes like the 8 Series and so forth, you still end up with a kind of light steering. So that is my only complaint I have, because if you drive a Porsche, whether it's Panamera or 911 or even a Macan EV, you have a very solid feel, very good feedback, something that BMW refused to provide, despite the fact that it is very accurate and it corners like it's on rails. So overall, of course, this is amazing car to drive, really fun to drive, and unlike pure sports cars, you actually have a beautiful ride. I'm just going over some bumps right now. It's very comfortable, very refined, very smooth, It's what I call a professional sports car. It's a true sports car in a sense of power and torque and handling, but your passengers will love you because it's still very quiet, it's comfortable, and super refined and smooth. And not too many cars are able to offer best of both worlds, and this one is one of those cars. Having said all that, it's also very expensive in Canadian dollars. This particular one is almost $160,000, thanks to some expensive options like the carbon ceramic brakes, which is $10,000. And that's one option that I do not recommend to people. You don't need the carbon ceramic brakes on a performance machine that already has good brakes. And if anything, the carbon ceramic brakes makes the brake touch sensitive. So as I step on it, it's almost basically too good. If you want to track this car, then yeah, maybe go for that. Otherwise, you don't need it. It also has the expensive carbon fiber package, which makes it really cool and of course lightens the car a little bit because of carbon fiber roof. But this entire car is really heavy. It's over 5,000 pounds because of the battery and the electric motor that have been added to the whole system. So this is the kind of bit of a philosophical question, but did BMW really need to do this? Could they not have kept the tried and true V8 system and powertrain and then not add a plug-in hybrid? Could they not have kept it a little bit more pure and simple because it's a BMW M5? So that's sort of the biggest question that I have. Obviously, this helps them to meet a more stringent emission standard in Europe and elsewhere. And this is a future, so I understand it may be necessary. But I wish that they could have kept the formula simple and kind of keep it in alignment with what BMW truly stands for, which is pure, simple performance. And if they could have done that and lower the price and lower the weight of this BMW M5, I think it would have been more attractive, at least to someone like me who really likes pure and simple but strong performance models. Anyhow, I cannot say enough about the car in terms of overall performance and overall feel. It's a car that you can drive daily to wherever you want to go, and once in a while step on the gas on the open road and enjoy immense performance when you really want to do that. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Also would appreciate if you can give me a thumbs up. And finally, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate if you can do that as well. I hope you enjoyed the video, but for now, I'm signing off. Thank you so much.